Alright, I guess I'm going to do another video. Picked up a new intake for the Harley because currently it has one of these Screaming Eagle heavy breathers. I wouldn't care if this gave me 80 more horsepower. It looks like absolute ass. We're getting rid of that for an Arlen Ness big sucker, which you see on like pretty much everything. I also picked up this Saddleman Step Up off Marketplace. My addiction to going on there every day finally paid off. I picked it up for a ridiculously good deal. I think I got it for 200 bucks, which these things are like $500. So, first thing is we're gonna get this hideous thing off the bike, and then we'll get into installing the new one. It has been unseasonably warm here in Illinois. It is still February. Today it was 47 degrees out, and I was able to go for a ride. So it's been nice to actually get some time on this thing, because I bought it in December, so obviously not prime riding conditions. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm glad that these are stripping out instead of coming off. I got the first one off. Also, I don't have a shorter 1/4 inch extension, so this is just what we're working with. That one too, wonderful. All right, so the other two, the first one popped right out. The other two just want to strip. So guess we're not taking it off that way. We'll just take out the two main ones that pull the whole unit off, which is going to be annoying. Hopefully that lets it just come off. But also, can't get that in there to loosen the filter to pop that off. So that's annoying. I'm trying not to destroy this thing because I'd like to sell it. Because people do, for some reason, actually like these things. Like I said in my last video, having a good mix of tools, with the proper tools, always makes life a million times easier. Get that out of the way. This is ridiculous. I understand that you get a lot more air and that is a performance gain, but this just looks like some shit you'd buy at AutoZone to put on your Honda Civic. I can say that. I've owned a Honda Civic and I put some shit like this on it from AutoZone. I already popped this cap off. These things are a lot more secure than I thought for just some O-rings holding them on for the most part. Kind of wish they weren't held on so well because taking it off is a pain. Trying not to mess up the paint on these or damage it, because I'm sure the next person will try and offer me 50 bucks for it. Because they're going to be like, oh, the paint's scratched. I don't know, people are stupid. Just soaked in shit. Help if I was trying to put the socket on the right way. And watch, I'm going to get these off and I have to get this stupid thing out of here anyway. Alright, now am I going to be lucky and can just take this off? I feel like I'm not. No, that is still very much attached to the rest of this. Wonderful. Of course. Of course. Something that can work if you do have some Allen bolts that are causing you problems is use a Torx. Sometimes that'll give you a better bite and let you actually pull the stuff out. And that, thank God, is doing the trick. So yeah, if you have some Allen bolts that are just stripping out, try using a Torx instead. And if that doesn't work, have fun. Just using a Torx, not even gonna fuck with it. These ones are a lot less stubborn. And it's off. Thank God. We're just gonna clean this up some. There is some, looks like oil residue in here. I'll just wipe it off with a somewhat clean rag. Now one thing, I'll show you in a second, but there's one thing that I saw on some of the videos on how to install these that made no sense to me why the guys did it this way. I'll show you that in a moment here. So in the few videos that I watched, you can see here, this is the backing plate for the air filter. Now you have those 3 holes. There's 3 holes to mount it on there. and they use, if it'll focus on that, they use these 3 bolts to hold it on there. And I saw a bunch of videos of guys trying to hold these bolts through these holes, and then hold the gasket on the back and set it all up in there, and then wind these holes in. You don't actually torque this thing down, so I don't understand why you wouldn't just run these in, line everything up from there. I don't know. It just seemed really stupid to me, so I'm not going to do it the way I saw in any of the videos, because I'm not a moron. Well, I'm not that much of a moron. Another thing, especially when working on Harleys, because they vibrate so much, Loctite everything. I actually really like the Loctite that comes in a tube like this. I find it to be a little bit less of a mess, but you need the Loctite everything. Doesn't matter what it is. These things vibrate like crazy all the time, and you need the Loctite. All your bolts, because the last thing you want is something rattling loose while you're going down the road. That'd be a nightmare. I have no idea if these have a torque spec. I'm not going to check. I'm just going to do them like finger tight. That's it. That's all you're going to need if you Loctite them. These are small. They're not holding anything super heavy. Just use one finger to tighten them up with an Allen key. Got them all tightened down. Just going to clean up the excess Loctite that came out after you run them in. Because if you do use the thicker gel stuff out of like the pen that I have, it does tend to come out in excess because it does go on heavy. Got a little bit of gasket material left on there. I don't have a razor blade, so just use the Benchmade to shave it off. My Benchmade that's already filthy. But you do want to be careful if you're going to do it like this. Try not to actually dig into your gasket surface to where it's going to sit. Because the more nicks and grooves you have in it, the more chances you have for air to leak through. I would recommend just use a razor blade or something else. I don't have one right now, so this is going to do just fine. So set our gasket on there. It should come with a gasket if you buy a new kit. These things only line up correctly one way, I believe. We'll see how many tries I need to get it right. Remember when I said I'm not a moron? I was probably lying. I'm an idiot. On your backing plate, you do need to put O-rings. You have 4 O-rings. One goes here, 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 and here. And then your banjo bolts go through there. There we go already. Dropping shit everywhere. That O-ring's gone too. Alright, after searching for one of the O-rings for about 5 minutes, I found it on my garage floor. If you do that and drop it all over your dirty floor, make sure to clean it off. Oh, you know what else I forgot? I didn't put any Loctite on these, so time to pull them back out and do that. I don't know what it is. This stuff has a certain smell to it that the other liquid Loctite does not have. And I really do like the smell of this. Which probably isn't good. It's probably harmful to inhale the fumes on this. Once again, these probably don't need to be super tight. So don't just crank on them. They are pretty sizable bolts, but you don't need to put an assload of torque onto these things. And actually, I probably should have tightened those down second, because these 3 have something else that goes on them that probably needs some alignment. So on these 3, your inner bolts, you're gonna have these that go on there, that thread on to space out for your air filter to screw onto the end of. One finger in the end of a normal size ratchet should be plenty of torque. I'm sure there's a torque spec, we're not looking it up. I have a climber manual, not that important. When I did the mid controls and hit it with the clutch basket and primary bolt and stuff, yes, I used a torque wrench on that. I luckily have my brother's super fancy snap-on one, so that's what I used. Alright, all those are on. Now we can throw the air filter and the cover on. You do want to make sure these are tightened all the way down. They will just bottom out because that's what's pushing your air filter against this inside body and creating a seal. If you don't tighten them enough, you will not get a seal. You will have air leaking, which is a problem for obvious reasons. Of course, the only thing I don't have the proper size for is the last fucking bolt. And also on the last thing, I almost forgot to Loctite it. I'm usually not a huge Loctite person. I don't normally Loctite everything. But, like I said earlier, on something like this, where you know they vibrate like crazy all the time, I'm gonna Loctite everything. I've used more Loctite on this bike alone, on just a few things I've done, than I think I've used Loctite on anything else in my entire life. And we're done. That looks so much better. Don't have a giant Honda Civic air filter coming off the side of the bike. I am much happier with how that looks. All right, let's fire it up. Might help if we're neutral. All right, so that's it for the not very informational video. That was really easy. It took me maybe 30 minutes, even with the like random things that I had to do, or dropping things and losing them for a couple minutes. That was super easy. There are definitely better videos online about this, but don't be afraid to change your intake out.